Hi everybody, it is April and I am in my craft room, and today we are going to make a fat quarter quilt using a free pattern from Robert Kaufman using Hoffman fabrics. I was perusing the free patterns, as I sometimes always do, and I ran across this pattern called Boardwalk. It is from the Fat Quarter shop. And I thought, you know what? I like it. I am going to be using some fabrics from Hoffman. They have a group of fat quarters for each month. The fat quarters that I'm going to use, I don't remember which month they're from. April. How do you think we're going to go find these fabrics so that we can make this same pattern with these same fabrics if you can't even tell us what collection it's from? When I publish this video, you can look in the description down below, and by that time, I will have figured out which collection from Hoffman these fabrics are from. On to the changes that I'm going to make. Because you know, I can't just see a pattern and make a pattern, well, unless it's a 3-yard quilt. Anyway, these blocks are made up of a print and a solid. Today is opposite day in April's craft room. I am going to replace the prints that are in this pattern with solids. And then I'm going to use a print instead of the background fabric, which in this picture is a solid. And I'm going to use this fabric, and it is from QT Fabrics. And I'm going to make another teeny little change. I'm going to have skinny strips and wider strips. See how all those are skinny? Well, I am going to do skinny, wide, just to give it a little more variety. What I'm going to do first is I am going to press my fat quarters because they are, you know, pretty wrinkled. But I will show you the fat quarters because they are beautiful. I don't know if you're familiar with fat quarters. Most of you probably are, but there are always some newbies in my audience, so I want to make sure that I explain to you what a fat quarter is. A fat quarter is when you take a ½ yard of fabric and cut it. And then you fold it long ways so your selvages touch on each side, and you cut it in half. That makes it a ¼ yard of fabric, and it's called a fat quarter because instead of being skinny like this by width of fabric, it's going to be fat like this, but it's not going to be as long. So normally a fat quarter is going to be a piece of fabric that is 18 by 21 inches. Now this is just a guesstimate. It depends on the fabric, the manufacturer, what the width of the fabric is, all that kind of thing, but on average they're 18 by 21. And you can do so much more with fat quarters than just use them for quilting. And I'm going to put some videos in the description below where I show you how you can use them to make table mats. You can use them to make zipper bags. You can use them to practice your free motion quilting and then use that to make zipper bags. All kinds of things that you can do with fat quarters. Today, we're going to make a quilt with fat quarters. So now the quilt here has, and I'm not even going to count, but do you see that list? That list is the number of fat quarters used in this quilt. So there isn't a whole lot of repetition. I'm not going to use that many fat quarters. I have 10 fat quarters, so that's how many fat quarters I'm going to use. The pattern calls for 1.5 yards of yardage for your background. And the background or yardage is going to be where these dark purple pieces are in the pattern. So now let's get started cutting. Alrighty, from each fat quarter, cut 4 or 5 4.5 by 9.5 inch rectangles for a total of 96 rectangles. Alexa, what is 96 divided by 4?
96 divided by 4 is 24.
Yeah, I don't have 24 fat quarters. So we're going to just play it by ear. I am going to cut 4.5 by 9.5, and then I'm also going to be cutting 8.5 by 9.5 because I want some squares that are, some rectangles that are bigger. From fabric A, which is your background fabric, cut 11 4.5 inch strips and then subcut 4.5 inch squares. So you need as many 4.5 inch squares as you have fat quarter rectangles. So I'm going to cut 2.5 inch strips out of the wide fabric and cut 2.5 inch strips out of my skinny fabric, and then I'll be right back. The next step in our project is to take our strips and our rectangles and connect them. So at the bottom of each rectangle, I'm going to sew my print. And the same goes for these. So let me sew all these together and I'll meet you back at the design wall. This is going to be a dual lesson. Have you ever had in your mind a number and that number wasn't really the measurement that you should have been cutting, but you cut all of your pieces that measurement? Well, of course not, because, you know, I am a seasoned quilter. Why would I cut the pieces incorrectly? Seasoned quilter or not, we all make mistakes. So do not let the inner perfectionist you make you feel bad for cutting something wrong. In my line of work, my favorite saying is, it's all in the recovery. So as long as you can recover from your mistake, it's all good. The mistake I made is the pattern, which of course I had already mixed up anyway. Not mixed up, changed up. I cut these pieces at 4.5 by 2.5. And when I was looking at the pattern, I thought, why do those purple pieces look so big? I should have cut them 4.5 by 4.5. I had 2.5 on the brain. Maybe I had some subliminal pattern change thing going on in the back of my head, and this is going to be the most beautiful quilt ever. Yeah, I doubt it. I doubt that. You're probably right. I don't think that this is going to be the most beautiful quilt ever made. Ooh, I just thought of something. Anyway, I digress. What I did wrong is the length of this piece of fabric. So where this is 2.5 inches, it should have been longer. Nothing that we can't overcome. It's just you will see less of the printed piece in this particular case. So let me finish putting these pieces up on the wall. Now I am playing with what I want to do with my strips. There would be a strip on either side of the wide blocks. So if I take this down, you get an idea of what it would look like. And then if I put it back up, you get an idea. And then if you look here, you kind of get an idea of what it looks like without the strips. And I like the strips. So I'm going to put the strips in and I will have a quilt that looks absolutely nothing like the pattern. My quilt top is complete. I like the way it turned out. It looks nothing like the pattern. So I thought I would give you a sample of, this is 4.5 by 4.5. So that is what's missing. So there's quite a bit of difference between this and this. I love how it turned out. These fabrics with the watercolor look are gorgeous. And you know, I can still have the boardwalk pattern on my list of patterns that I need to make with a fat quarter. Have a great day. Eat some chocolate. Be kind to everyone. And until next time, bye. Today's chocolate of choice is a regular Milky Way. I've given the shout out for the dark chocolate, but a regular Milky Way, it can stand on its own too. Fat quarter quilt pattern from Hi everybody. Princess Wave. With some fabrics from Hoffman. Struggling. This is going to be a long one. If you can't tell us what collection they're from for these.